Morning, Bitcoiners. Now, you gotta let me know if this works because we're not sure. We've been doing some experiments. I did a experimental stream about 2 hours ago, and Bitcoin Graffiti, who was awake in Europe, let me know it worked okay. So I had courage. Good morning, Rickster Swigster. Let me get used to this new interface. I'm on my iPad. It didn't give me many didn't pick my mic up. I'm supposed to be wearing a mic, so let me know if the audio is okay. Let me see. Good morning, Christian. Good morning, fam. Indeed, that's what it feels like. I'm glad I missed you guys the past couple of days, really. I feel weird not getting ready for hanging out in the mornings, the days that it wasn't there. Great, good audio, yeah, okay, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. And as P-Man Van is reminding us here, I can't tell you the sun is up because I'm in the worst hotel I've ever been in my life. Maybe not the worst in my life, but it's pretty bad. My window is into the courtyard, which is somehow no sunlight comes in. So I've got no clue what's happening outside. I don't know what the weather is like. I don't know anything. I don't like it. So I'm going to have to take your word for it, guys. The sun apparently is up. I haven't confirmed. I have not verified. So you're going to have to trust me today. The sun is up. I'm assuming it's up. Bitcoin's running. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee, talk about what's new. There it is. There it is. So, as you know, I like to start every morning with the fakest news I can find, some Moscow time. We got some good ones today. So the New York Post says, this is a interview they did with a mother. You know, mothers love their kids, right? I miss my kids. Mothers love their kids. This mother found, and you know, mothers want to save money on groceries and all that. So this mother found a way. She says that I feed my daughter crickets for protein. It saves hundreds on grocery bills. Hundreds, only hundreds. How much do crickets cost? I don't know. Here's another one. So, you know, everyone talking about inflation still. It's around. I'm astounded here in Texas. Things are expensive. It's not as cheap as I remembered. And the Wall Street Journal thinks they figured it out. They wrote a story today that says that it was the car dealer markups that helped drive inflation. Study finds. Study finds. So thank you, car dealer, for causing all this inflation. Assholes. Here's another one from the FDA. They've rejigged the vaccination definition now. So now, according to the FDA, vaccines don't have to prevent infection or transmission, just in case you're looking into it. This is a really hilarious one. So the European Central Bank had, in an interview yesterday, we're talking about the CBDCs, right? And they said that a digital euro would protect people's freedom to pay. Freedom to pay. That's a good one. Freedom to pay. What does that mean? Who doesn't have the freedom to pay? Okay, that's all right. And Bloomberg opinion, after all this, you know, we got all kinds of talk about the commercial real estate and what's going on with that. And they had a headline, the perception is that the economy under Biden is somewhere between dismal and dire. The reality is far more encouraging, writes Matthew Winkler. I think Matthew's been making a few appearances here in Moscow time, so that's pretty good. And I saved this one for the end because it's just too beautiful. It's unreal. I love it. And it's from, I think it was the Daily Mail in England. It's a British paper, though, so here's what the chief economist of the Bank of England said. The Britons need to accept their poor, says the Bank of England economist. Chief economist Hugh Pill says, workers and firms should stop trying to pass on rising costs by hiking prices or demanding better wages. So don't negotiate and bad car companies again. So that's great. So this whole question about the economy, right? Of course, it's on everyone's mind. Everyone thinking about it all the time. And it made me think about the situation with Tucker, right? So everyone yesterday talking about Tucker Carlson getting fired or whatever happened with Fox. And you're going to hear 1,000,000,000 reasons why. Oh, it's the uniparty. Oh, it's this and that, right? Let me just get this cleared up for a second. So I don't think you're ever going to find out exactly what happened with Tucker. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I'm not sure. But I thought Mike Cernovich had the absolute best take, because Cernovich didn't get in and say, this is the reason and that is the reason, and it was because of this, and he said that, he interviewed this person. If he only wouldn't have interviewed Trump last week, or if he would stop talking about warmongering or criticizing the warmongers, it wouldn't have happened. So the take that Cernovich had here is pretty interesting, and this is what he says. So he says, the suits at Fox News have wanted Tucker out for years. No different from anyone with a job. Your coworkers want to push you out for your slot. Your boss thinks they can make more profit without you. Suits and egos resent your shine. It's a bow-tied jungle out there. And that made me think a lot about he said they think they can make more money. But really what he was talking about, and if you kept reading, Slate, I guess it was it Slate? Someone did a whole piece on it. Someone wrote an entire article on Cernovich's take on Tucker Carlson. And one of the takeaways in the end is that now, it is what I believe. I believe you had all these different executives. Each of them had their own reason. And I've said it before, when Biden first took over, for example, in the White House, and one of the first policies to come down from the Biden White House was to fire staff who smoked cannabis, right? And it seemed crazy, and the fake news made a bunch of articles about it, and they said, oh, look at what a hypocrite he is. What I saw was the following. I saw a decision that was clearly made by a corporate body, by some kind of committee, because it wasn't a human decision. It was just random, and they had some stress or some influence, some input that forced them to make a decision, and it came out so stupid and so crooked and weird that it was unrecognizable to anyone. So when that happens, when groups make decisions, they can look so dumb and unintelligible because it didn't come from a human. It came from the negotiated aspects of sitting together, and then slowly you can spin logic and right or wrong or whatever it is into some estranged version, sort of approximate to reality, but not there anymore. And a person on the outside would say, this is crazy, right? But really what's going on in the minds of the people in the meeting is the meeting's over in 15 minutes. We have to come to a decision. This is why we started meeting. We've got to make a choice one way or the other. And if people on the outside don't understand, it doesn't matter to them. They're going to make the decision anyway. So the one with the pot, and then I guess the one with the pot in the White House, of course, it got switched a little bit later because there was this huge blowback in media. People were talking about it, and it didn't seem rational or reasonable. So it's a little bit the same what happened with Tucker. I imagine there was a bunch of people, right? And they all had their own personal reasons why it had to happen. And, you have a straw that broke the camel's back, but I don't think it was one story. And everyone got together and said, oh, we've got to do this, right? Rupert Murdoch told us we have to do it. And then we have to do Rupert Murdoch being the owner of Fox. So anyway, it was a corporate decision, and you had people for all their own reasons. Everyone had their own reason. They came up with this situation. But Michael Milliman, talking about what Cernovich said, I think put it perfectly, right? And he said this: Cerno makes the point that Fox can fire its biggest name because corporate profits aren't what matters anymore. That reminds me of the James Burnham's point in The Managerial State. He says that big orgs don't need to be profitable in this society. They've got other goals. And that's what I see. That's what I see. I see a company like Fox that does have all kinds of investors. They're losing money, so some people say. They have investors, they have people that are giving them money, but it doesn't really matter, right? They're always going to get more money. There's always going to be people that want this sort of vanity platform, and they'll get more funding and all those things. So it's true. I believe Cernovich has it right here. There is no more feedback loop. It isn't about making money. If it was about making money, he would be fine, right? Tucker would be fine. But because their objectives are other, you actually have a corporate group that simply didn't want him there anymore for whatever reason. And everyone had their own initiative to do it. And in the end, money couldn't talk, in the sense that the money wasn't enough to say, look at the audience he brings us, look at all of this stuff. Now, there's some people who said, oh, he didn't have the right advertisers. I don't think. If money mattered, if the bottom line at Fox really mattered, then it would have been a different story. But of course, there's another injection here. There's other people who will give them money. Money is not really what they're after, right? We can follow the money. And in this case, it still applies. Follow the money to a place where there's no feedback. There's infinite amount of money in a sense, right? They're subscribing to the Neil Kashkari motto, right? We have infinite money at the Federal Reserve. So if you have infinite money, and if you're involved in that outlook, like the folks at Fox might think, then you simply don't have to worry about it. And so that's what I see here. I see a situation where we have a corporate group that made a decision. Now you have a bunch of people that are trying to figure out what the corporate group was thinking together. I don't think they thought anything together collectively. I think it was just a bunch of reasons, and the time was right. And again, they don't have to factor in the money. And that's really where most of our problems come from, right? The fight between the folks that don't have to even think about money and the folks that have to think about nothing but money, right? That's the Cantillon effect that we're all experiencing, of some people who are close to the printer can simply just push forward, not worry about money. There'll be more money. We'll get more money. Don't worry about it. And others who still have to think about balancing their finances, paying their bills. So that's why the whole thing looks so strange to normal people looking in on what's going on with the Tucker Carlson story, because when they sit and look, they need a reason, right? There's got to be a story there. There's got to be a trigger, and people got together and made a calculated decision. I don't think so, right? Why they had to have a reason? Because he makes them so much money. Well, again, it just doesn't matter, right? You can follow the money in this case, and following the money means that you have a group of people with access to tons of money with other objectives besides making money, right? The objectives of Fox are not purely financial anymore. They're about vanity, they're about egos and suits, and exactly as Cernovich said, it's a bow-tied jungle out there. And these people are vicious, and lots of people had reasons. The reasons came together, everyone had a chance, and it was enough to push it over the edge. So that's what I saw, right? That's what I saw. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but there you go. Now, if you put that into the context of what's going on in our elections, for example, so Joe Biden announced he's running, right? He announced he's running for president again. And some people say, my prediction is I just don't see it happening again. We'll see. We'll see. But somehow I think he's going to either croak, or another dark horse candidate is going to come in at the end. Probably, I'm just mind reading here, but if I was strategizing for the Democrats, what I would say is anyone you put too early against Trump, he's going to get his branding machine going. He's going to find the nickname. He's going to start his assault. And the person will be so beaten and weathered by the time you get to the election date that it won't be you won't get a bump. You won't get an enthusiastic charge. So I continue to think there's going to be some dark horse that comes out for the Democrats, not like a savior or anything. Like, I think it's going to be bad, right? I don't expect it to be a good thing, but that should be what happens. But we'll see. But what I wanted to bring up, though, is this idea of, and again, this is the whole, you have to have a reason, and contrasting money versus, contrasting having to account for money and having money that you can actually enumerate versus this fiat system of unlimited money. And The political situation we're looking at in America is almost identical, and I'll explain why. So here's a note from Scott Pressler. And Scott Pressler, if you don't know him, he followed Trump for years on the campaign trail. He's a really gentle, thoughtful host and organizer in political circles. If you ever come across him, you'll find him quite remarkable just in his temperament and his tone. Just looks like the most gentle person you ever came across, just wants a happier world and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know anything about him other than the few times I've seen him intro a couple of Trump rallies and speak publicly a couple of times, and never met him. Do follow him on Twitter. And here's what he has to say about Biden running again and what it really means and the situation with Trump. And here's what he says. I have to be honest with you. Right now, Joe Biden is on his way to re-election. If Republicans plan to only vote on election day in 2024, we will lose. Like when 30% of Maricopa County, Arizona polling locations had machine errors on one day. My vote in the presidential primary will be largely influenced by the candidate who is building the most robust voter registration and ballot harvesting operations. To the current declared candidates, Trump, Haley, Ramaswamy, none are going to win unless you begin building these get out the vote initiatives now. Furthermore, so anyway, but his point here is, I think, the relevant one. There is no more accountability in our elections, just like there is no more accountability in our financial system, right? There are people now, and that's why Joe Biden is the perfect candidate for whatever this ballot harvesting system is. You don't need him to go out and campaign. I predict if he does run, he's just going to be hidden in a corner and doesn't need to participate in any debates. I don't think he can. Lex Friedman yesterday was saying, I want to interview both candidates. Do you imagine Joe Biden in a 3-hour conversation with Lex Friedman? If you've been bored in your life before, get ready for something else. This would be the very crickets, the cricket supply that this lady is feeding her kids would just go wild. They'd all die, everything. Nothing could live through that. Nothing could make it through 3 hours of the boringness that would occur if Joe Biden sat down with Lex Friedman. It would just break everything. It's not possible. It's never going to happen. And, like I said, I just can't imagine he's going to be doing any debates, any kind of public speaking. And indeed, it really is just a assertion. It's an assertion, in my opinion, that you can go into elections, and as long as you have a good ballot harvesting approach with the way things are today, you're going to win, right? It's all about ballot harvesting right now. And that doesn't really mean good things for democracy. Bitcoiners have understood for a long time, I bring it up all the time here, how Bitcoiners, just in our understanding of the engineering network that is Bitcoin, understanding about 51% attacks, understanding about the trade-offs between convenience and credibility, right? That's the whole thing about Bitcoin scaling. It always has been that. It's do you run the engine hot and try to optimize for transactions per second and the ease of use of the Bitcoin network, or do you keep it credible? It's always been the debate, right? That's what separates Bitcoin from consumer technology. Those engineering limitations are what we have to deal with in Bitcoin, and that's why it works, right? We have this engineering understanding and the trade-offs between convenience and credibility. And the trade-offs between convenience and credibility are now completely lost in the electoral process in America. It's the same story, though, right? The engineering options of the election system are identical to Bitcoin. That's just the way some engineering obstacles go, right? They're often about trade-offs. That's the job of engineering in some ways. And so when we hear that ballot harvesting is going to be the number one reason, the number one frame for the election in the United States, you can see right away that this is exactly like the fiat system applying itself to some companies have no bottom line. It doesn't matter. They're too big to fail. They're too prestigious to go without financing and funding. And in the case of Fox, it's just a very powerful tool with this huge audience. So There's some people who want that, and some people who will do anything to get involved in that. That's why, Fox always has the best production and always has the best um, um, standards and quality. I mean, they have the money to do it, and doesn't matter if they make money, they'll get more, right? People will invest in them, people will give them money, and that's been the case with the company for quite a while now. So, um, what we see with Tucker when they don't care about the decisions because it's not really about money, it's a little bit the same as a political party not really caring who the candidate is anymore, because they understand very clearly that there's always more votes. Right? There's just more. You can find more votes, and if you need more, we got more. Right? And so that equation of the money not mattering, there being no accountability or any feedback in both the financial system, has now fully merged into the political system. And indeed, it's one of the problems that I have with the Trump campaign this time. Again, I'm not a Trump supporter this time around because of his last day in office and no pardons for Assange and Snowden. Of course, I would support him if it gets that far. But the problem that I see is that, for example, he goes to Florida a couple of weeks ago, and he's there for the MMA fight, right? So he goes to an MMA fight. They love him. They're cheering. They're going crazy, right? We love you. People are coming to shake his hand, right? He's sitting there, and this was right when he was arrested or indicted or whatever the hell happened. And so he sits down, but why didn't they start getting all those people to vote or sign them up to vote, or what strategy was used? Now, I'm not saying that was the time, the elections aren't happening, but that's the kind of stuff he's got to do. He said it once or twice, but I still don't see any systems. I see him spending millions of dollars attacking the governor of Florida. And I understand why he wants to. He wants to beat away any potential rivals to the nomination, but that still isn't enough. It's not enough. You've got to have you got to jump in 2 feet first now with this ballot harvesting thing. Because if you don't, you're going to get run over, and I'll explain why you're going to get run over. This is some pretty dark stuff. So this is from Villain in Exile. And he's been picking up on these new bots that are on Twitter, way more sophisticated than anything we've ever seen, of course, now fueled by and powered by AI. And he's been doing picture analysis to make sure the pictures are indeed fake. Each and every time it's a sort of a down home kind of country American wearing a cowboy hat, speaking about practical things, got a beard. And the photo analysis shows clearly that, well, the photo analysis they did, I never did any photo analysis on these people. The photo analysis that they did clearly shows that these faces were computer generated. They have all kinds of conversations. It's almost impossible to tell. It's fully Turing compatible. Totally passes any test you would have on determining whether or not they're real. They look real, they sound real, they answer back, they argue, they debate. But of course, they're fake, they're bots. And not only bots, they're sophisticated AI bots. And you can start imagining these things flooding the zone and just going everywhere. And that is only going to help the ballot harvesting stuff. Not to say that they're going to vote or anything like that, but you're going to have the waters even more confused about the process of election. You're going to have the path around the election just completely saturated in the fog of war. We've got AI involved. We've got these complicated voting systems that last for days, and who knows how long after the election they last. It's the same thing. You're going to hear all kinds of Moscow time. I'm sure I've got a year's worth of Moscow time coming up with everyone saying, don't expect the election results on the day of the election. They're going to be, it might take a week. It might take 2 weeks. Remember how long it took in Arizona? Well, that's the world we live in now. That's it. Arizona is America. So you're going to get all kinds of craziness. Now, is anyone out there fighting all this money that Trump is spending on DeSantis and giving him nicknames and all that kind of stuff? What about, I remember how it was done in the summer of 2020. I was calling for, I was saying in the summer of 2020, there's no way we're going to have a credible election in November 2020. And my reason was I knew the lawyers that were going around America changing electoral laws for COVID in order that we can have so much more mail-in ballot voting. I got a bunch of ballots sent to me in Brooklyn, and I'm not even American. I got all kinds. I could have voted 5 times. Five. I got 5 ballots. There's 4 people at my house. 2 of them were infants. The other 2 are not even American, and I got 5 sent to my house. Like, there's nothing that would have stopped me from filling those things out. Nothing. Nothing. I could have given them to someone. I could have said to my neighbor, "Can I vote for you?" Because they're not voting, right? There was a million ways to do it, and it would have. I could have voted from there. I could have. I left in July, and I think the ballots opened in August or something crazy, right? Like, I think I could have voted by August. So you get this situation now where, and again, this is what Bitcoiners understand, that 51% attacks work, right? This is again this debate between credibility and convenience. 51% attacks work. Satoshi said it clearly, right? If everyone, what about 51% attacks? They work. They work in Bitcoin and they work everywhere. And if you can have a 51% attack now with fake straw men created by AI working with a voting machine, there's no way this system is going to put out a credible result. There's just no way. And so you're going to have a bunch of people who will see something like an election go on and say, well, they had all these things. Look at all the people that reacted. Look at all the people that said it was real. Look at all the people that were there. None of it's going to be real. None of it. None of it. So we won't even, like I've said, Arizona didn't have an election in 2022. There was no election. People voted in a day, but the rules of their election were simple. You have to show the custody of the ballots from one place to the other, how many ballots went in, how many ballots went out, and the chain of custody has to be really explicit and documented. It never was. So according to their own rules in Arizona, they never adhered to the structure of how they said this is an election, right? They never did that. Now, you're going to see all kinds of democracy fortification going on throughout other states, I imagine, right? And you've got some Republicans that have other reasons why they want this to be done, right? You've got all kinds of arguments about voter ID that they bring forward. So it's just a muddled situation. Now, I'm not saying the ideas on voter ID are bad at all. I'm just saying you're getting all these debates. Everyone thinks they're right about how to organize elections. And in the end, we don't have anything like elections. It's not, you go to a place and you do a thing, but what actually happened, right? It's the same, like tell a Bitcoiner, right? It would be the same as saying to a Bitcoiner, okay, you're going to go give your Bitcoin to this guy over there, and he's going to do the transactions, and then we'll tell you in a few days if the transaction went through, but you can't check it because we're going to mix the wallets first, and we'll see, right? Maybe. So imagine someone telling you to use Bitcoin like that, right? The idea is absurd. The idea is absurd. It's absurd. And so we've done that now to our election system, and now we've got AI getting involved. And I don't know if you guys saw this. Pizza Hut. This is a story. Even Elon Musk saw it. An AI created a commercial for a pizza restaurant, and it looked a little bit like Pizza Hut, but it wasn't. It was like Cheese Pepperoni House or something like that. Everything about that. It was like a 1990s pizza ad. It was amazing, but it's completely fake. It's completely fake. So AI is going to have a big role, I think, in muddying the waters further. It's going to be heavily involved in the fog of war around our election this time around. And exactly at the point when we are fighting between credibility and convenience, we're going to make it almost so convenient that AI is participating. Some nebulous LLM is going to be a major player in whatever the hell this democracy thing is, right? So that's the lesson that Bitcoiners learned a long time ago, that freedom does not come from democracy. That's a myth. Freedom comes from the way we practice our lives and the way we live our lives and the way we use Bitcoin, right? That's a huge part. So it's about actions and not ideas. And in the end, what separates us from AI anyway is that we can take these physical actions in the real world. We can do real things. And AI still can't, right? Still can't. But it's going to be heavily involved in muddying the waters, and it's going to be trouble, right? Now, you've also got, I'll get into the economy story, economics, right? You've got the BRICS folks jumping up, organizing, more people coming. You get the stories about U.S. commercial real estate, right, having a lot of troubles. Here's, I didn't put that one in. But even Elon said, right, and this is from, so I guess Peter St. Onge has been doing a lot of interviews about the stunning collapse in the US dollar. Morgan Stanley analyst said that yesterday, and he was picking up on it. And Wall Street Silver says de-dollarization is real and it's happening fast. Dollar share went from 73% in 2001, that's global reserves, to 55% in 2020. And then it went from 55 to 47% since the Russian sanctions. And people are de-dollarizing at 10x faster than, so the speed of de-dollarization has come to 10 times faster than in the past 2 decades. And Elon Musk says if you weaponize currency enough times, other countries will stop using it. And indeed, that's what we're going to see, right? And there's, I think, going to be an even bigger trigger for de-dollarization that not a lot of people are thinking about. So, and it's going to be a weird one, and I like it. It's fun. It's like a simulation wink in favor of Bitcoiners in this sense. So coming up, you can see it. Janet Yellen is starting to get out there talking about financial catastrophes, you know, and because the debt ceiling. So they're starting the fake debt ceiling pantomime now. What are we going to do? No one will trust America if we don't do unlimited debt ceiling stuff, right? Please let us borrow more money. We don't have enough money. We haven't borrowed enough. Please. And so it's going to be that from now until June, right? And they're even going to keep talking about the unlimited debt ceiling, the big dream of all these people. So debt ceiling is coming. The big debate is coming. But the difference now is that you get other countries who don't necessarily need to wait for the debate to end. It used to be, before this trend of de-dollarization was so powerful, they would probably be concerned. Well, now, when we're going to be navel-gazing and talking about our own troubles, BRICS is organizing at the same time. So I think there's going to be this off-ramp presented by people just saying enough of the fighting, of the fake stuff. Because I think the debt ceiling, the whole fake thing, the media pumping it up, because that's one of these things that might work in our favor. That's the ironic part that I wanted to mention. You're going to have the media going on and on and on with their fake stories about debt ceiling. They're going to ratchet up the intensity, ratchet up the anxiety around the debt ceiling debate, even though it's fake. And then you're going to have other countries who I think will just use it as an excuse. We'll see. But that's what it sounds like. Sounds like Johnson's, here, I'm going to read some. Sounds like B. Johnson's fake theory is dead then. Well, Dollar Milkshake basically said, hard to say. I'm still not sure. You still have, it's not just foreign reserves, right? There's the trade piece, right? So US dollar is no longer the big instrument for trade, in the sense that it used to dominate. It's not just reserves and what you save in that's the most important, right? It's also the usage of the money. And that's something that Balaji has been pointing out a lot lately, that if you look in the direction of trade, the US dollar is already not the global currency, in the sense that trade is being done, invoice factoring, all that stuff is being done in Chinese money, because we're talking about short-term situations here, right? It's invoice financing for 90 days and those kinds of things. So with invoice financing and trade finance and all the pieces of trade finance that go on around the world, I was pretty big into trade finance, learning about it in 2015, because it looked like a big use case for Bitcoin and crypto. and I was asked to write about it a lot. So I just learned every little piece there is in global trade finance, supply chains, and all those kinds of things. So very interesting stuff. I had no idea before I learned about it. So it's also a huge factor. It's not just what countries save their reserves in, it's also what individual businesses trade in. So part of Dollar Milkshake is predicated on the demand for US companies and equity and the US stock market. And it's not just about savings, right? It's about a certain amount of belief in American systems over other countries and people still supporting them. And by that, you start getting this gravitational pull of other currencies into the US dollar. I don't know about dead. I mean, it's hard to predict a lot of this stuff. So we'll wait and see. I'll listen to my man, Ansel Linder, who, if you don't watch his show, Fed Watch, and he does a daily show as well. He's probably, as far as I've done a few shows with him, he's my go-to reference now on foreign exchange and central banking around the world. So ask him what he says these days. He was a big dollar milkshake theory for a while, but I think I bet you he's changed. I'm not saying he's not a dollar milkshake, but his reasons to believe in it will probably be different now. So I'd say have a look. All right, let me go back here. A lot of comments today, guys. Great. All right. Good audio. Good. Yeah, it didn't work so bad, huh? All right. Sun is up. Yeah, so is Bitcoin. Yeah. Good. Sun's up, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My turtle loves crickets. Yeah, I guess that's where you buy the cricket. Yeah. Now that makes sense. Yeah, you buy the crickets for the, if you keep any reptiles. Now I get it. That's where the cricket supply is coming from. P-Man, you know it's she do dirt. Feed the kids dirt. No, you cannot indeed vaccinate against stupidity. Oh, Justin comes up with a good one here. Did you see the dark roast mug on Biden's? Yeah, crazy. Huh? They embraced dark Brandon. I like it. It's a good mug. I just don't want to give him money. Slug says, please start to Rumble too. I do the Rumble broadcast. My only problem with the Rumble is that it's a real pain. I mean, it's unbelievable. It adds per morning getting ready on Rumble to this live stream adds 5 to 10 minutes of trouble every time. It's not just clicking. If it was like, broadcast to Twitter, broadcast to YouTube, broadcast to Rumble, I would never fail. Never. But they're not integrated in the same way, and I don't quite understand why, and it's hard. So I tried. I did it for like a month a long time ago. Didn't get too much out of it. Some of the shows that I rebroadcast do okay. I check in every now and again. But you're right. I gotta, what I might do is just do like special content for Rumble or something. I don't know, just its own show, 10 minutes or something, a best of. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. But I'm not against Rumble at all. I love it, but not. I'm not capable with it. It's like you got to open extra windows and you got to copy things from here to there, and it's not cool. And the other thing that it does, here's the other thing that it does. I have to do Rumble first before I can do what I plug into here for just a bunch of reasons. So it's if I'm running late type of thing and I'm about to go live, I'll feel stressed if I don't have the things loaded up to go live on YouTube and Twitter. And this sort of delays that. It delays my ability to load up the Twitter and YouTube feed. And then I just copy it from the Rumble one, but it's a pain. It's a pain. It's a pain. Again, my challenge is to find a system that's usable and repeatable every day, right? If it's not repeatable every day, things become hard. There's much left of his intellect. Nope. He would fall asleep. Yeah, I guess we're talking about the Lex Friedman Joe Biden interview. Could you imagine? Yeah, it's a weekend at Bernie's. It's hilarious to think about. You don't have to add a joke to it. Just someone should make an AI video of that. Lex Friedman talking to Joe Biden. Bless that Lex Friedman's heart. He sounded sincere when he was like, I plan on trying to interview both candidates. Lex, it ain't gonna happen, man. You know, if they plug him into AI and let him do a virtual interview, maybe. I mean, I think they can do that. I bet we'll find out one day he's been doctored a bit, you know. Yeah, there was the bank. Looks like the First Republic in trouble. Yeah, there you go. B-Man Van has it right. I have the Bitcoin milkshake theory. Yeah, that's the right one. That's exactly it. I like goats, guns, and gold for that stuff. It's got better lately. Okay, Ollie, let me check it out. Yeah, it has been. You're right. It probably is because I haven't looked to load a Rumble video live probably since December. So maybe I'll look into that when I get back and I'm not on an iPad. All right, team. That's all I got for this morning. A bit of a short one. We'll do some short ones while we're here. We're a little busy. All right, my man. Peace, everyone. See you tomorrow.